Discover the incredible and heartwarming life-changing secrets of the hidden Victorian era. The sound of rain pattered against the library windows, creating a cozy backdrop as Sarah nestled into her favorite reading nook, the scent of aged paper enveloping her. Here in Maplewood, the stories spilled from the shelves, vibrant worlds waiting to be discovered. But today, that comfort felt distant, overshadowed by the weight of her responsibilities. The twins Ethan and Noah were at school, and she was alone, battling the thoughts of bills piled up and the expectations of a community that only saw the facade of her strength. Just then, a flash of light flickered off an old trunk hidden in the storage room as shadows. Curiosity sparked as she ventured closer, excitement mingling with trepidation. Inside, she found a collection of Victorian-era letters, carefully penned by a woman named Eleanor. As Sarah leafed through pages worn with time, tears stung her eyes. Eleanor's words spoke of struggles, of love, and courage echoing through the ages. This woman, long since forgotten, had also fought to care for her family amid societal pressures. Sarah felt an undeniable connection, her heart swelling with hope. "Wow, guys! You have to hear this," she exclaimed to her book club later that evening. As the small, intimate gathering filled her living room, Sarah shared Eleanor's story. "She felt so alone, just like I do sometimes," Sarah continued, her voice trembling slightly. The group, comprising her closest friends, nodded, their expressions reflecting shared emotions. As they discussed balancing motherhood with financial hardships, a fire ignited within them. They spoke of dreams, a community center that would lift families and provide resources. The room buzzed with determination and excitement. "Let us make it happen," Sarah declared. The thrill of a shared vision brought a spark to her weary spirit. But clouds began to gather. Whispers of a wealthy developer looking to tear down the proposed space for profit swept through Maplewood. Sarah's heart sank, the weight of defeat pressing down on her. Desperate, she threw herself into organizing a fundraiser, hoping to rally support. Yet, when the day arrived, only a handful of faces filled the room, while doubts loomed larger than ever. Her heart raced as she faced the empty seats, feeling isolated, like the weight of the world rested solely on her shoulders. Just as despair threatened to consume her, she remembered Eleanor's courage. Moments later, one by one, her neighbors stepped forward, sharing their lives and struggles that mirrored her own. Each story of perseverance sparked a flame of unity among the crowd. Inspired by their collective whispers of hope, Sarah felt renewed resilience. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The evening of the town hall meeting finally arrived. Sarah stood, heart pounding, as she faced a bustling room filled with residents and opposing developers. They began to share their own stories, each word echoing Eleanor's lessons of courage. Their voices rose, passion igniting hope. Just as hope flickered, a question crystallized in the air: would Maplewood choose to nurture the spirit of community over mere profit and prestige? Sarah felt the weight of all she had endured resting heavily on her chest, a reminder of how far she had come. In that moment, as the rhythmic heartbeat of community surged, she readied herself for the fight ahead. Where would this path lead? Uncertainty loomed, but the glimmer of hope shone brightly as she refused to give up. She had discovered not only a voice for herself but for all of them. What would happen next? As Sarah stood at the front of the town hall, she noticed the uneasy shifts in the crowd. Faces filled with concern, anger, and a hint of hope flickered in the dim light. She coughed lightly, willing her voice to fill the space. This was her moment. "Everyone, thank you for being here tonight." Her voice rang out, shaky but strong. "I know we all have our stories, and we've come together today because we believe in Maplewood. We believe in our community's potential." A murmur rose, and Sarah could see nods of agreement. This was good. She took a breath, imagining Eleanor beside her, urging her on. "We cannot let our dream of a community center slip away. It's not just a building, it's a lifeline." From the back of the room, a familiar face chimed in. It was Mrs. Parker, a widow who had lived in Maplewood for over 30 years. "We need that center for our kids. Without it, where will they go? We've seen our youth fall into the wrong crowd. We need a place for them." Her words stirred something in the room, igniting a wave of voices. Sarah felt the electricity in the air. Different people stood up, young mothers, retirees, fathers, all sharing their reasons why the community center mattered. "I've struggled to find daycare," said a young mother, her baby cradled in her arms. "How will I work when I have no one to watch my child? We need support." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. Each story resonated deep within her, fueling a collective fire. That connection, so real, so raw, was the very spirit Eleanor had written about. People had fought for each other's well-being, just as they were doing now. Then came the objections. A well-dressed man stood up, slicked back hair glimmering under the fluorescent lights. "With all due respect, we need to think economically. Maplewood could thrive with new businesses, not community centers. This project is a waste of resources." Gasps filled the crowd. Sarah's heart sank for a moment, but she quickly shifted tactics. "But what about our future?" she countered. "Our business is truly sustainable without community? We can't ignore the very families that built this town. We are its heartbeat." The crowd cheered, rallying behind her words, but anxiety crept back in. This man was supported by deep pockets. How could they combat that? As the meeting continued, Sarah listened. Ideas swirled about fundraising, partnerships, and creative ways to mobilize support. Someone suggested leveraging social media to spread awareness. Another proposed forming a committee dedicated solely to addressing community concerns. This was becoming bigger than she had anticipated. It was no longer just her fight. It was a movement, the spirit of Maplewood, solidifying in front of her eyes. But, as excitement ran high, doubt sparked again in the back of her mind. What if their efforts were not enough? The developer was powerful, and could easily quiet their voices. Just then, the man from earlier spoke again. "What you all must realize is that these dreams cannot be built on empty hope. I challenge you to prove your commitment." His words hung heavily in the air. Could they really rally enough support before time ran out? Sarah looked around the room, seeing determination reflected in her neighbors' faces. She felt her heart race. This was the moment they needed to define Maplewood's future. She stood taller, embracing the challenge. "Let us show him our commitment," she shouted, rallying the crowd once more. "Let us prove that together we are unstoppable." The cheering surged, and smiles broke across faces. But deep down, the nagging anxiety remained. Was it enough to make a real change? As the meeting concluded, a woman approached Sarah, her eyes gleaming with urgency. "I have an idea," she murmured, leaning closer. "What if we run a campaign that focuses not just on the community center, but the stories of everyone impacted? We could reach more people before the woman could finish." A loud crash echoed outside. The crowd turned as the front doors burst open. "Excuse me," a voice boomed, interrupting. "We need to talk about what is happening here." The room fell silent, tension thick in the air. Who was this intruder, and what did they want? Sarah's breath caught in her throat. This was it, the storm before the calm. What could they possibly face next? Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she locked eyes with the man who had barged into the meeting. He was tall, with an air of authority that made the room feel even smaller. The whispered conversations faded into a tense silence, each person in the hall instinctively leaning in, bracing for what came next. "Who are you?" Someone from the crowd finally called out, breaking the stillness. The question hung in the air like a flash of lightning. The man stepped further inside, a clipboard clutched in his hand. "I'm Marcus Talbot. I represent Maplewood's Development Committee." He scanned the faces in the room, trying to read their reactions. "I'm here to ensure that everyone understands the facts surrounding this community center proposal." A ripple of murmurs surged through the crowd, a mixture of confusion and anger. Sarah could feel a heat rising in her throat. She fought the urge to speak over him, wanting to hear what he had to say yet prepared to push back with everything she had. The funds required for such a project are substantial. Resources can be better allocated to attract businesses that bring jobs and growth. This isn't just a matter of opinion. It's simple math. He gestured emphatically with his free hand, as if trying to point out invisible statistics floating in the air. Sarah felt a wave of frustration wash over her. "But what about the heart and soul of Maplewood?" she interjected, her voice shaking slightly. "You don't get economic growth without a thriving community. We can't just count dollars and cents without considering families. Families don't pay the bills," he shot back, voice clipped. But the crowd was already on her side, murmurs growing louder, as fists clenched and brows furrowed. "You don't need to pay bills when your community is united." Mrs. Parker stood again, her voice echoing with conviction. "You talk about profits and businesses, but at what cost to our children? How can we show them what home means without a place to gather?" Cheers erupted again, and Marcus's expression shifted momentarily, surprise flickering across his face. It was becoming clear that his tactics were backfiring. "Fine," he finally said, frustration evident. "But you need a concrete plan. I've been warned that if we don't present something viable soon, we may lose any chance at securing funding for this project. So tell me, what do you have?" His challenge lingered in the air, heavy and pressing. Sarah felt that rush of fear again, but it changed into something else, determination. She could feel the collective energy in the room pulsing like a heartbeat, and she could sense the urgent need to rally the troops. "Let us brainstorm," she inspired. "We'll take every story and every idea we have and turn it into a presentation that ties our dreams to real change." The crowd nodded, excitement igniting in their eyes. But before they could get into planning mode, a voice broke in from the corner. "We can't just come up with ideas." It was a young man, his expression serious. "We need to connect with people outside of Maplewood, those who can stand with us. If Marcus is right, we have to unite." As discussions brewed and energy ignited, Sarah approached Marcus. "You have no idea of the strength of this community," she urged. "This isn't just a passion project. It's our lifeline. We will prove our commitment, but we need your support too." His gaze softened for a moment, but quickly hardened back to business. "If you can pull this off, maybe I'll be the first to listen." They exchanged a charged glance, two different visions colliding in this small town hall. As the night deepened around them, each idea bounced off the walls like echoes of hope, but the weight of uncertainty lurked over them. Sarah felt hopeful yet scared. Could they truly find a way to showcase their dreams, their need for connection, before they lost everything? That sense of urgency hung there, lingering heavy and real. How would they prepare in time to show Maplewood's heart, and could they win over those who held the power? The meeting swirled with brilliant possibilities, but the clock was ticking. Time wasn't on their side. And in the back of her mind, that nagging question remained: just how far would they have to go to make their voices heard? The energy in the room transformed as the clock ticked on. People gathered in small clusters, animated conversations weaving together snippets of hope and desperation. Sarah stood at the front, palms sweaty but clenched into fists. Her heart echoed the rhythm of their discussions, each beat louder than the last. "Okay, we need to outline our strengths," she called, her voice rooted in a mixture of confidence and nerves. "What do we love most about Maplewood? What makes us who we are?" Faces lit up as folks began to share. Mrs. Parker spoke passionately about the Farmers Market, where families gathered every Saturday morning, kids running through the aisles, the smell of fresh bread mingling with laughter. A man in a baseball cap chimed in about the community book fair that had brought everyone together, the way it ignited their creativity and passion for literature. Each idea sparked a fire of emotion in the crowd. Memories flowed like a river, erasing the doubt that hung so thick in the air before. Sarah's fears slowly morphed into a sense of possibility. This was a chance to reclaim Maplewood's identity, to stitch together their stories into a tapestry that could be presented to whoever held the strings of funding. As they moved to a nearby whiteboard, Sarah watched faces around her. There was Mr. Jensen, with his gray beard, nodding in agreement whenever someone spoke about preserving the old town library, a place that had been a sanctuary for him as a boy. The energy was palpable. There was something powerful about reliving the essence of their community together. "Let us create a visual. We can compile photos, testimonials, and data to highlight why this community center is essential," Sarah suggested, her voice rising in excitement. "We need to illustrate just how vital this place is for our gatherings, our children, our hopes." But then doubt crept back, lingering like a shadow. "But how do we find people willing to stand with us?" she muttered, feeling her confidence falter. Just then, Leo, the young man from earlier, stepped up. "What if we tap into social media?" he proposed. "We could start a petition, gather stories from people both in and outside Maplewood who have grown up with community centers. If we show the impact on real lives, we'll have a stronger case." Sarah felt a spark of inspiration shoot through her. "That's brilliant. If we share pictures and stories, we can reach those who've moved away but still hold Maplewood in their hearts. We can turn that into our foundation for funding." The group erupted in enthusiasm, ideas splashing like confetti in every direction. Someone suggested creating a video montage. Another proposed a community event to raise awareness and show their passion. They all brainstormed together, a sense of unity binding them as they pushed through obstacles. Hours slipped away, but no one noticed. Exhaustion rarely found its way into their shared passion, and with each name added to their lists of potential allies, a wave of determination washed over Sarah. They had ideas ready, but now came the real challenge: outreach. Would they be able to mobilize support in time? Could they transform their local voices into a chorus strong enough to echo beyond Maplewood's boundaries? With the thrill of their endless ideas dancing in the air, Sarah made eye contact with Marcus. He'd been watching them carefully, a mix of skepticism and intrigue in his expression. The hard lines of his face started to soften, as if he were seeing something within them he hadn't noticed before. "Tomorrow, we go public," she declared. "We tell everyone. Let us make Maplewood proud. We will show them our vision and move mountains." As the meeting wrapped, a sense of shared purpose filled the hall. But in the depths of her heart, Sarah couldn't shake one last question. What if their voices weren't enough to change minds? What if they stood alone against the forces that wanted to reshape their town? In the quiet after the storm of ideas, the looming uncertainty pressed heavily once again. What would it take to rally a community and secure a future they could truly call their own? The morning sun broke through the clouds the next day, a warm light streaming across Maplewood. Sarah was up before dawn, a mix of excitement and anxiety swirling in her stomach. Today was the day. She bit her lip, pushing away the doubts that threatened to creep in. As she prepared for the meeting, her phone buzzed relentlessly with messages from enthusiastic supporters, each one igniting a tiny spark of hope. At the town hall, a mix of familiar faces and newcomers filled the room. The air buzzed with anticipation, and Sarah felt her heart race as she looked over the crowd. As she stepped onto the makeshift stage, her voice steadied, bolstered by the presence of her community. "Thank you all for being here," she began, glancing at Marcus, who stood near the back, arms crossed, still skeptical but undeniably present. "Today, we're taking a step towards preserving what makes Maplewood special. Together, we'll show everyone what this community center means to us." Cheers and applause erupted, a chorus of voices championing a common cause. With each clap, Sarah felt that familiar sense of unity resurface, swirling around her like a warm embrace. "First up, Leo," she called, motioning to him. He approached the podium, a bright smile lighting up his face as he began to share stories about the impact the community center had on his childhood. He painted a vivid image of laughter echoing through the halls, friends gathering for game nights, and the comforting presence it had always provided. As he spoke, Sarah watched the room. Mr. Jensen's eyes glistened with nostalgia, while Mrs. Parker nodded along, her hand pressed against her heart. Next, Sarah brought up a few others, each sharing their memories, revealing the threads that wove their personal experiences into the fabric of Maplewood. With every testimonial, the crowd grew more animated, voices rising in agreement, inspiring murmurs of recognition. Hope bloomed like flowers in spring, vibrant and strong. But just as the momentum built, a voice cut through the joyful noise. "What good is this all going to do?" It was Janelle, a local business owner known for her blunt honesty. "You think a few stories will actually make a difference?" The room fell quiet, tension hanging like a cloud. Sarah's heart sank. Doubt rippled through the crowd. "We need more than just stories," Janelle continued, arms crossed tightly. "We need a plan." Taking a breath, Sarah stepped forward. "You're right, Janelle. Stories are just the beginning. But they remind us why we fight." Her voice rose, fueled by the energy in the room. "If we want this community center to thrive, we need to show everyone just what it means to us. We need action." "Action," the crowd whispered, a renewed spark igniting. With a wave of excitement, Sarah proposed a rally set for the following weekend. "Let us invite everyone, families, couples, even those who've moved away. We'll create booths celebrating our community, and share our stories through art and music. We'll gather signatures, raise funds, and, most importantly, unite." The crowd erupted into a booming approval, scattered claps transitioning into a unified, rousing cheer. Sarah felt the energy lift her, the air thick with the hope of what they could achieve together. But as they started organizing, a gnawing worry prickled at Sarah's thoughts. What if the plans fell through? With all the work ahead, could they truly do it? When the meeting adjourned and Sarah stepped outside, she felt a mix of exhilaration and uncertainty. The road ahead was vast and winding, filled with unknowns. But a tiny flicker of hope urged her forward. As she made her way home, it hit her like a bolt of lightning. What if this rally wasn't just a celebration, but a turning point? What if it became a defining moment for not just Maplewood, but for her own life too? The wind carried her breathless anticipation as she stepped into her house, knowing she needed to pull everyone together for the next big step. How would she handle the weight of those expectations? Who would surprise her along the way? The answers felt just out of reach, lingering like the fading sunlight at the end of the day, illuminating the path ahead, a path Sarah was determined to follow. Sarah stared at the calendar on her wall, counting down the days to the rally. Each mark felt heavier, like the weight of expectation was pressing down on her shoulders. She had to make this work. They all needed it. And yet, each morning began with the same clenching anxiety. She leaned back in her chair, her eyes wandering to the photographs pinned up nearby. There were snapshots from last year's event, smiling faces, children playing, spontaneous laughter echoing in the air. Those moments reminded her of what they were fighting for. But at the same time, they loomed larger than life. What if those moments became mere memories, just stories people told years from now? As the week progressed, the community buzzed with excitement about the upcoming rally. Meetings filled the evenings as Sarah gathered support, worked with volunteers, and brainstormed ideas. Each encounter propelled her forward, fueled by the stories she had heard. But doubt still hung in the back of her mind, like a shadow she couldn't quite shake. On a particularly crisp Thursday evening, Sarah found herself sitting with her closest friends at Bella's Cafe, their favorite hangout. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the laughter drifting around the room. Marcus sat across from her, his brow furrowed in thought. "I still don't see how just a few booths will make a difference," he said, stirring his coffee absent-mindedly. His tone was skeptical, yet there was something softer beneath it, something she could sense. "I know it sounds small," Sarah replied, leaning in closer, "but it's about solidarity. It's about showing our love for this place, for each other. Those booths will be filled with the stories and talents of our town. That's worth fighting for." He raised his eyes to meet hers, studying her for a moment before nodding slowly. "Okay, I believe in you, Sarah. Just let us make sure we're prepared for whatever comes next." Prepared? The word echoed in her mind as she sipped her coffee, grateful for the support but feeling the pressure. She wondered what else she could do to rally more people. Maybe she could reach out to more businesses for sponsorships, or bring in local musicians to enhance the event. As the night wore on, laughter and camaraderie wrapped around her, but also grew heavy with the realization that everything hinged on this event. She wanted so badly for it to be perfect, for everyone to feel the warmth of community that she did. But reality tugged at her heart. What if it all crumbled? On the night before the rally, Sarah found herself restless, emotions stirring deep within. She couldn't help but fret over the outcome, imagining every possible scenario, both good and bad. She paced her living room, glancing out the window, watching as the moon hung high and full, a constant amidst her swirling worries. Suddenly, her phone vibrated. A new message flashed on the screen, and her heart skipped. It was Leo, with a simple sentence. "We believe in you, Sarah. Let us make history together." It was just what she needed, that reminder that this was more than just her dream. It was theirs. Feeling a spark of determination, she set her phone aside and took a deep breath. She was ready. She had to be. The next day, she had one goal: to harness the energy of the town and turn it into something unforgettable. But even with her resolve, doubt left a lingering question. What if they showed up, but it still wasn't enough? As morning dawned, the weight of her hopes hung heavy in the air. She stepped into the sunlight with a flutter of excitement mixed with fear. Would the rally bring their community together, or would it widen the divide? With no time left to question, she forged ahead, ready to embrace whatever unfolded. As she drove towards the town square, a knot formed in her stomach. She needed to lead, but could she truly find her voice when it mattered most? What awaited her at the rally could change everything, not just for Maplewood but for her entire future. As Sarah pulled up, she took one last, deep breath, hoping that today would reveal the magic they had been waiting for. The town square was alive with energy, the vibrant colors of banners flapping in the breeze. As Sarah stepped out of the car, the familiar buzz of anticipation washed over her. She could hear laughter, the chatter of families, and the rhythmic thumping of drums coming from a nearby stage. It was a symphony of hope, and she was at the center of it. She took a moment to drink in the scene. Kids darted around, their laughter ringing out like music. Vendors were setting up, their tables filled with local crafts and food that painted the air with sweet and savory scents. This was what she had envisioned. Her heart swelled. This was so much bigger than just a few booths. It was a celebration of community, But as she moved through the crowd, her mind flickered with doubt. What if the turnout wasn't as she hoped? What if the town's divisions overshadowed their efforts? The pressure weighed down on her again, heavy and suffocating. "Hey, Sarah!" a voice called out, breaking her from her thoughts. It was Lena, one of the volunteers. Her face was bright with excitement as she rushed over, her cheeks flushed from the chilly morning air. "We're all set with the setup. Everyone's here and ready to go. You should see the kids practicing their performance. It's going to be amazing." Lena clasped her hands together, practically vibrating with enthusiasm. Sarah felt a smile break across her face. "That's great to hear. Thank you for all your hard work, Lena." "Are you okay?" Lena asked, catching the subtle tension behind Sarah's smile. "You seem tense. Just breathe, all right? You've put so much into this. Trust it'll be wonderful." With a nod, Sarah inhaled slowly, trying to calm the fraying nerves. The sky above her was a brilliant blue, dotted with fluffy clouds. It looked serene, yet her heart raced with every beat that echoed in her ears. As the crowd continued to swell, Sarah glanced at the clock on her phone. The rally was set to begin in less than an hour. She needed to speak, to inspire, to ignite the spirit she knew was waiting just beneath the surface of every person gathered there. But what would she say? Feeling the weight of the moment, she walked to the small stage that had been constructed at the center. A few festival-goers looked up, curious faces peeking through the crowd. Taking her first step onto the stage felt monumental. The wooden boards creaked slightly beneath her weight, and for a brief instant, she hesitated. Just like a practice, she whispered to herself, reminding herself of the countless times she had visualized this moment. With a deep breath, she searched the faces in the crowd, letting the familiar smiles fill her with courage. "There's love here," she thought, "and it must be shared." Just then, Leo stepped into view, giving her a thumbs up, and in that small gesture, she felt an electric surge of determination. With her heart pounding, she grabbed the microphone. "Hello, everyone." Her voice wavered, but she pressed on, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face. "Thank you all for being here today. This rally is not just about booths or performances. It's about us. It's about our families, our future, and the love we share in this beautiful town of Maplewood." Cheers erupted from the crowd as a wave of encouragement surged through her, filling her sails with wind. The fear began to dissipate. The doubt was overshadowed by the collective hope of the community around her. As she continued to speak, surrounded by kindness and passion, something clicked inside. She felt her voice grow stronger, articulating the very essence of what they were fighting for: connection, unity, hope. But just as she was building to the heart of her message, a commotion rippled through the crowd as a group of people on the far side began shouting. She turned, her heart sinking. What could this mean? Was the unity truly fragile? Her pulse quickened as she faced the unexpected challenge. The moment felt pivotal, her voice faltering for a heartbeat as the tension in the air thickened. Would it break her spirit or fuel her fire? She knew she had to address this to keep the rally on course. Gathering her resolve, she took a step forward, determined to lead with compassion and courage. What would she tell them now? Could they find common ground among the chaos? Her heart raced, knowing this moment could change everything. As Sarah stood on the stage, the energy from the crowd pulsating around her, she felt her heart race. The shouting intensified, creating an undercurrent of fear and uncertainty. Her palms were damp around the microphone, but she could not let that stop her. This gathering was too important. She was their voice, their hope. "Please, everyone," she shouted, her voice cutting through the clamor. The noise ebbed for a moment, and a hush fell over the crowd. "Let us remember why we're here. Today is about unity, not division." Her heart swelled with a mix of fear and determination as eyes turned toward her, seeking guidance. From the corner of her vision, she saw Leo step forward in the crowd, concern etched across his face. He was always her anchor, rooted in calmness even when storms raged. That gave her strength. She glanced back at the group causing the commotion. A few locals appeared visibly upset, gesturing passionately. "Can we talk?" Sarah called, trying to bridge the gap. "What is happening over there?" The crowd fell silent, tension hanging thick in the air. The venting group exchanged looks, surprised by her willingness to engage. One man, tall and burly with an expression set in anger, stepped forward. "This isn't a celebration. It's a ploy. We're tired of empty promises." His voice boomed, and Sarah felt the weight of his words. Angry murmurs surged through the crowd again. Taking a deep breath, she held up her hands, urging calm. "I understand frustrations," she started. "You're right. Many of us have experienced broken promises. This rally isn't just about fun, it's about sharing our stories. A chance to rebuild trust." She looked into the man's eyes. "I want to hear your story." He paused, taken aback by her sincerity. The tremors of tension in the crowd shifted slightly, curiosity replacing some of the anxiety. "Maybe we've shared too much anger," he said, his voice softer now, uncertainty creeping in. "But we don't feel heard. We're afraid things won't really change." "I hear you," she replied, feeling a swell of empathy for this man, for everyone. "We all want a better Maplewood. I can't solve it alone, but together we can make this town thrive." The whispers around her turned into thoughtful murmurs, a tangible shift in the atmosphere. People started to nod. While some faces still showed skepticism, others softened. Hope flickered like a candle in the darkness. "Let me share a vision," Sarah proposed, leaning into the moment. "Let us commit to working together. Imagine what we can accomplish if we listen, if we work alongside one another. Not just today but every day." A flicker of excitement ignited in the crowd. Encouraged by their reactions, she shared stories of small victories from the past, your neighbors coming together to help when someone fell ill, students working on a community mural that now graced the town hall, the collective effort to clean up parks. Each story was a thread weaving them closer. As her voice filled the square, she could feel the shift, the walls creaking apart. The shouts turned into thoughtful discussions, and more people joined in, sharing their insights, fears, and hopes. It became clear that channels were opening, the ice beginning to melt. But just as the atmosphere shifted from despair to unity, the original shouting group muttered something that Sarah couldn't overhear. It was as if their fragility was hovering just beneath the surface, ready to break the spell she had begun to cast. "How do we ensure this isn't just another rally?" the man asked, his resolve returning, his voice trembling slightly. Before Sarah could respond to this crucial question, she felt an oppressive weight settle back around her heart. Did she have the answer? Could she assure her community that this was just the beginning, a genuine start to healing? The crowd looked to her, awaiting a sign of hope, leaving a wound exposing itself anew. Would she falter now, or rise to meet the challenge? The next few moments felt critical, suspended in time, as she prepared to shape their future words. What she said next could change everything. The air around Sarah felt electric, thick with anticipation and uncertainty. She took a deep breath, her mind racing. She could see the faces of the crowd, a mix of longing and hope, edged with fear. It was a moment where everything could change, not just for her, but for everyone gathered there. How could she reassure them? "It's about commitment," she finally declared, the words bursting forth with a newfound conviction. "We can't just rally and walk away. We must create a plan, a tangible roadmap for change, one that involves each and every one of you." The man's brow furrowed, doubt still flickering in his eyes. "Bob," he said, introducing himself. and we're tired of hearing plans that go nowhere. Bob, she said, meeting his gaze head-on, we need your help. Together, let us create a community board where all voices can be heard. Let us put our heads together and build a list of actionable steps, tangible ways to ensure we keep each other accountable. A ripple of murmurs passed through the gathering. Sarah felt a sense of solidarity bubbling up. She continued, we can host regular meetings, hold each other accountable, celebrate our achievements, and voice our concerns. This is about building trust. Bob nodded slowly, still skeptical but considering the offer. And how do we know you'll stick around? The question was fair. Sarah knew the weight of it, and the vulnerabilities of leadership. Because this town is my home, she said firmly. I grew up here, just like many of you. My heart is woven into Maplewood. I want to see us thrive, not just exist. As she spoke, she noticed Leo moving through the crowd, finding faces, reconnecting with people. His presence steadied her, a reminder of what they were all fighting for. One by one, others began sharing their stories too. A woman spoke of her struggles with her elderly parents, and another shared how her son felt out of place at school. Each voice added layers to the tapestry of their community, revealing the beauty in shared hardship. It felt more than just a discussion, it was a revelation. Then a young man, barely out of high school, stood up and said, I want to help. I've got ideas on how we can engage the youth and bring everyone in. His words ignited a spark in the crowd. More voices followed, and what had begun as a protest evolved into a brainstorming session filled with passion and hope. Sarah felt the tension melt away. They were rallying, forging connections, and embracing vulnerability. She could sense the turning tide. There was laughter now, two small jokes shared amidst heartfelt conversations. Yet, just as the positive energy reached a crescendo, Sarah made eye contact with Bob again. His skepticism hadn't vanished completely, and he was still watching closely, gauging whether this momentum would hold. What if it falls apart? He asked quietly. That question lingered in the air, a stark reminder of the work that still lay ahead. Could she promise that it wouldn't? She took a sip of water to steady herself, feeling the weight of responsibility return. Change isn't easy, she replied, her voice steady but gentle. There will be challenges, but we'll face them together. And as long as we communicate and trust each other, we'll rise above any obstacle. The crowd's energy shifted once more. People leaned forward, their expressions still hopeful, but with understanding that there would be bumps in the road ahead. But just as the atmosphere began to solidify, a voice from the back shouted, You say you want change, but can we really trust anyone again? A murmur of agreement echoed after that. Suddenly, the warmth of connection felt fragile again, like a candle flickering in the wind. Could she dispel that doubt? Could she convince them that this time, things would be different? The doubt hung there like a weight, deepening that raw energy in the air. And in that moment, as her heart raced, and the crowd hung on her every word, Sarah prepared to face their challenge. Would this rally end in unity or distrust? The answer danced at the edge of her tongue, thrilling and terrifying all at once. Let us talk about trust, she began, her voice ready to reach out and grasp that flickering flame. As the crowd waited, the atmosphere hung between heavy uncertainty and hopeful anticipation. Sarah focused her thoughts, drawing strength from every moment leading up to this. Trust is built through actions, she called out, addressing the concern head-on. We're here to create something real. Together, let us craft a foundation where our voices are heard, not just today, but every day. We must work hand in hand to ensure our community thrives. The hesitation in the air felt palpable. Sarah leaned into the microphone, willing her heart to shine through her words. We've all felt disappointment, promises broken, hopes dashed. But today doesn't have to follow that pattern. The magic lies in our hands. If we stand together, we can hold each other accountable, share our progress, and celebrate every victory, big or small. A low murmur swept through the crowd as the realization of possibility blossomed. Let us put together committees, one for outreach, another for events, and another to maintain our community center's needs, she continued, recalling Eleanor's resilience and commitment to family and community. Together, we can weave our stories into a bigger narrative, one that we can present to the development committee that shows how much this center means to us. Bob's expression softened as he leaned in, clearly absorbing her words. And we'll have meetings? Regular gatherings to keep track of how we're doing? He asked, his skepticism waning, replaced by interest. Absolutely. Sarah grinned, heart racing as she felt their connection spark again. Engagement is vital. Community relations will be our strength. Let us all commit to staying involved and share our progress. We can even spotlight achievements monthly, keeping the enthusiasm alive. People began nodding. Hope blossomed like fresh flowers breaking through the thawing earth. Leo stepped forward, waving his hands to rally the group. Let us take a picture right now. He pulled out his phone. We document this moment, our commitment to Maplewood, our trust in one another. The crowd cheered, excitement sweeping them. Sarah felt warmth flooding her chest. This was at this moment could define them. As people gathered around, arms draping over one another's shoulders, Sarah smiled wide, the feeling exquisite. Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Leo snapped the picture, capturing their united front. And in that flickering instant, hope thrummed like a heartbeat. They were more than individuals, they were a tapestry woven with shared dreams. As the excitement buzzed through the air, Sarah stepped back and glanced around, breathing deeply, absorbing every piece of this transforming story. They were already emerging into something greater, an unstoppable force of love and passion. Yet a part of her heart still harbored anxiety. With every promise came expectations. Could they maintain this fire? Would their actions indeed build trust? As she pondered, Bob approached her, light shining through his previously skeptical demeanor. You really believe in this, don't you? He asked gently. I do, with every fiber of my being, she replied, her voice steady. We can reshape our future, it just takes all of us. As they looked around, eyes glistening with shared determination, a wave of positivity knitted itself into the fabric of this community. They would tackle the challenges ahead together, sparking conversations, revealing vulnerabilities, and building bonds stronger than any prophet could offer. Remember this day, Sarah called out to her newfound family. This is the first of many steps toward nurturing Maplewood's heart. Let us ensure that the rhythm of compassion beats strong and clear. Applause erupted around her, the sound swelling and crashing like waves against a rock, each clap ringing with potential. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, wrapping Maplewood in a blanket of orange and purple hues, Sarah stood at the edge of the gathering, her spirit buoyed. They had done it. They had transformed a moment of doubt into a beacon of hope. She felt the warmth of true connection, vibrant, real, and incredibly healing. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, yes. But today, they had etched something into their town's history, bonding together in love, not division. They wrote a new story, one rooted in trust, action, and belief. With a full heart and a radiant smile, Sarah knew she wouldn't face the future alone. Together with her community, they were ready to build something beautiful. Now, let us not forget, if you've been moved by this journey, you need to subscribe immediately to catch more heartwarming stories like this one. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now, and let us feed that algorithm to bring more incredible life-changing tales your way. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. We must spread this magic. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Let your voice be heard. Together, let us light the path for the future.